Hello, I'm Debra Reinhart. I'm Associate Vice President for Research and Scholarship and Pegasus Professor of Environmental Engineering at the University of Central Florida. I've been at UCF for 28 years, almost 29 years, and over that time I have conducted primarily solid waste research in a variety of ways, ranging from collection of waste to landfilling. I also work in the Office of Research and Commercialization, and I help other researchers obtain funding and work with them to identify collaborators, students, and so forth. The time that remains, I conduct research funded by the Hinkley Center, but also the National Science Foundation and the Environmental Research and Education Foundation. The Hinkley Center has been funding my research pretty much since I arrived at UCF, and I'm just so fortunate for that continued source of funding for my projects and my students. In fact, when I talk to people at conferences and workshops and so forth about the Hinkley Center, they are very jealous that we have this treasure in the state of Florida. Early on in my career, I was funded by Hinkley and other organizations to work in the field of composting, and then worked from that into the bioreactor landfill topic. And we had a wonderful project in North Florida at the New River Regional Landfill, where we were actually demonstrating at large scale how to recirculate leachate and how to inject air, and that research has funded papers and presentations all over the world, and is very well known in the landfill research area. Since that time, I've done projects on biosolids, leachate treatment, waste collection, and so forth. And most recently, I've been working in the area of elevated temperature landfills. That's our current project, where we've come to notice that a lot of the landfills in Florida actually from time to time do have temperatures that exceed regulatory limits. They have to get variances to continue operation, which they're able to do. And so we're digging down into that project to figure out perhaps why that's happening, how to prevent it, and how to deal with it once it's happened. I entered the field of waste management, and more specifically studying landfills, when I did my PhD at Georgia Tech many years ago. Before that time, I actually was a consultant and worked for the city of Atlanta in the wastewater treatment area. But when I came back to Georgia Tech to get my PhD, I wanted to work with Fred Poland, and he is no longer with us, but he's widely known for his work in landfills, and primarily in the area of leachate recirculation. Some people say he's the father of leachate recirculation. And so when I came to him and said I wanted to get a PhD, he said he had a really interesting project funded by the US EPA looking at leachate recirculation and the fate of hazardous pollutants that are sometimes placed inside a landfill, and how they might react in a landfill. And so that's how I got started. It was fascinating, it was exciting, and it started my career at UCF very strongly. I was able to get a fair amount of funding in that area. I've been funded by the Hinkley Center for many years, as I mentioned, and that funding has allowed me to do a couple things. It's allowed me to fund graduate students. I've had around 75 graduate students over the years, and a significant fraction of them have been funded by Hinkley. And by getting involved in Hinkley, they have the opportunity to meet practitioners, to meet other researchers, to reach out to the public and talk about their research. Also, I'm able to fund them, and so they all graduate without debt. Many of them are still in the solid waste industry or highly doing work highly related to solid waste, and so we're contributing to the better understanding of solid waste in multiple ways. The research has allowed me to study how we can better use waste as a resource. We can recover nutrients, we can recover energy, we can avoid landfilling or even burning the waste in waste energy facilities. That tends to be less efficient than other means of extracting resources. So again, Hinkley Center has really provided me the ability to to do these investigations and to present them all over the world, and to engage my students and the public. So over my career of researching solid waste management, I've had the good fortune to really understand landfills. And for many people, even highly educated people, other engineers, they just consider a landfill a hill in Florida, which is quite unusual. But they don't really think about what goes on inside a landfill. And it is an incredibly complex, has mechanical things going on, chemical things, physical things, incredibly complex reactor within that large hill. And the better we understand what's going on inside the landfill, the better we can operate it and decrease emissions, avoid odors, collect the leachate and treat it properly. And so, again, do this in a better way than just dumping waste and hoping that it goes away. So that has been so exciting. I've been able to study a landfill as a bioreactor, as a controlled reactor. I've been able to understand some of the things that go on when we compress the waste, when we study how the leachate moves inside the landfill, what the leachate picks up inside the landfill, over time, how that leachate changes, and even long since the time we put waste in the landfill, what's going on in terms of continued gas emissions and leachate emissions. And most recently, I've been studying how we might be able to safely walk away from a landfill after we're no longer placing waste, and to passively treat the leachate, control the emissions in a way that has very low cost to the landfill owner and operator, but yet is safe and can be reused in more positive ways. The Hinkley Center is an organization that funds research and education in the solid waste field across the state and in every part of the state. But more importantly, it allows us to educate the public, to educate regulators, students, and so forth, in a way that does ensure that we are properly disposing of solid waste. It helps regulators understand how they can better protect the environment and health, and just brings together a community of solid waste researchers like no other state that I've ever seen, and I think has had enormous impact throughout the world on how we manage solid waste in a safe and economical way. The projects that I've conducted over the years that have been funded by the Hinkley Center are different from other projects I've done. Like most, they do involve students, and the students are a very important part of the research. But they also develop a partnership. We're a team. We work together. We have technical awareness group meetings and people who run solid waste management facilities. Our students get to present to them. Our students get to interact with them. We learn why our research is important, how we can do it better, and just engage in conversations. Again, that doesn't happen with projects that are funded by other agencies. The Hinkley Center is front and center with the research. DEP is driving the research agenda. They're also presenting our research, sharing our research at different forums around the state. So it's a wonderful family. It's wonderful interaction, and it's very helpful to our research and to our students.